My name is Juan Uriagereka, and I teach the class on the biophysics of language. The way we have framed the question is, could Neanderthals ask questions? It's a way of basically asking whether other species beyond humans, and of course Neanderthals are the closest species we know existed. I mean, some would even say it's part of the same species, whether they could ask questions like you have just asked me. It's not obvious that my dog or my cat can, so it's interesting in evolutionary terms. What is it that allows us to have a conversation like this, ask about ourselves, etc. I came to the world of linguistics because I was interested in the human mind. What makes us humans? What makes us unique? I initially was an economist. I've always been very interested in the sciences. I love biology. And many of these questions get together in the case of language, because language touches on our societies. It touches on, well, how it is that our brain functions, etc. So it's a special science that connects many of the sciences that are interesting to me, that I'm very passionate about. The first half of the course has visitors. I have lots of friends on campus and in the community around campus, etc. So experts, and in some cases world experts, visit to give us a lecture on their topic of choice that relates to the major affinity groups within the class. By affinity groups, I mean some people will be working on psychological aspects, others would be working on genetic aspects, others on paleoanthropological aspects, because language touches on so many different areas. So for each of those affinity groups, we will have an expert come and lecture, and then the students reflect on that lecture, etc. And that then creates a group of groups. There's at least 4, 5, maybe even 6, depending on interest, because our students come from many different backgrounds. And then each of the groups starts working with a mentor in a particular project for the second half of the semester. Typically in that part, they will go to local places, labs, the zoo, libraries, whatever is needed for them to get a hands-on experience on the particular topic that they're working on as a group. For instance, I remember one of the groups that was very interested in pointing. Our babies point very, very early on. I mean, if you have siblings or children, you know that by 6 or 7 months, they are already pointing. First, they gaze with their eyes, and then they point. And so they were asking, well, can chimpanzees do that? How about chimps are the, of the species that still exist. Obviously, Neanderthals are extinct. Chimps are the closest to us. Can they point? And that was a terrific question. And they went to the Baltimore Zoo, where they have a colony of chimps. They work with the caretakers, and they asked, that was their research question. There's a very interesting literature on that. It's just an example because, you know, so many different dimensions play a role in language. But just as these kids went there, others in a different year, they went to work with dolphins in the aquarium, others went to work with orangutans, and not just model animals, right? I mean, because you also have to worry about the neurological aspects of language. So you may need to go to a lab that does neuroimaging, etc. It's quite broad, and it depends on what the students' interests are in relation to language in general. I am of the opinion that some of those divisions between science and humanities and arts are a little bit artificial, that, you know, we're told those things early on, and okay, you're good at math, or you're good at writing essays and so on. The biggest problems that we face as humanity, and we're seeing one right now as we speak, all of those require all hands on deck. In a large university like ours, communities like this is what make it a little village where you know everybody, and where you can, you know, you can count on your professors to help, etc.